What if I told you a viral claim says the Australian government is about to take $1,200 every single month from your superannuation automatically and without your permission? That's $14,400 a year, and for many Australians, that headline alone is enough to trigger panic about their retirement. The problem is, superannuation rules are complex, and when the government announces reforms, fear spreads faster than facts. Social media takes a real policy, twists the wording, and suddenly people believe their savings are about to be raided, even when that's not what the law actually says. So where did this claim come from? Is there any truth behind it, or is it another case of financial fear-mongering going viral? Stay with me, because understanding this now could save you years of unnecessary stress and bad decisions. Number 1. Where this claim really came from. It all started with a half-truth wrapped in fear. Over the last year, the Australian government announced changes to how superannuation is paid and monitored, especially around employer compliance. These announcements were technical, boring, and buried in official language, but when they hit social media, they were repackaged into dramatic headlines that suggested something far more sinister, that the government was about to take money from everyday Australians. The truth is, no policy ever stated that individuals would lose a fixed amount monthly from their super without consent. What actually happened is that a real reform was misunderstood. Changes around payment timing, enforcement, and future taxation discussions created confusion. Content creators chasing clicks took those fragments and stitched them into a shocking narrative, one that sounds believable if you don't live and breathe superannuation rules. When people hear numbers like $1,200 a month, it triggers emotion before logic. Fear spreads faster than facts, especially when retirement savings are involved. Most Australians don't regularly check official government sources, and that's completely understandable. Life is busy. Bills, work, family. Super feels distant until a headline makes it feel urgent and threatened. That's exactly why these claims gain traction. They rely on confusion, not confirmation. Once enough people repeat the same message, it starts to feel real, even when it's not backed by law, policy, or official announcements. This is how misinformation doesn't just spread, it snowballs, pulling more and more people into unnecessary panic. If this breakdown helped you see through the noise, drop a comment and tell us what first caught your attention. And please subscribe. It's one click, but it supports the long hours we put into bringing you clear, honest explanations. Number 2. The real policy being twisted. Many people don't realize this, but the government did announce a genuine superannuation reform, and that's where the confusion begins. The change focuses on how often employers pay super, not on the government taking money from your account. This reform is designed to stop late or missing super payments by requiring employers to pay contributions closer to payday. On paper, it's meant to protect workers, not punish them. But when this policy left official documents and entered social media, the original purpose got completely lost. Instead of explaining the reform clearly, some online posts turned it into a scare story. Words like automatic, forced, and taken without permission were added, even though they don't exist in the actual policy. The truth is, the government doesn't suddenly gain the power to dip into your super whenever it wants. Superannuation is heavily regulated, and any withdrawal rules are written clearly into law. If such a drastic change were real, it would require legislation, public debate, and widespread coverage, not whispers on social media. What makes this even more believable is that super already feels out of our control. You don't see it daily, you can't freely access it, and the rules feel distant. So when someone claims a new reform lets the government take money, it fits into an existing fear. That's the danger here, not the policy itself, but how easily poor explanations turn into panic. Once you separate the real reform from the exaggerated story, the narrative starts to fall apart. This isn't about losing your money, it's about understanding what's actually changing and what clearly is not. If this helped clear the fog, comment "clear" below so we know you're following along. And please subscribe.
One click from you helps us keep making deep, honest videos like this.
Number 3. Why the amount sounds so specific. One reason this claim feels so believable is because of the exact number attached to it. Saying $1,200 per month sounds precise, calculated, and official, not like a random guess. In reality, governments almost never announce policies using a flat, universal dollar figure like that for everyone. Superannuation balances, incomes, contribution rates, and tax situations vary massively from person to person. A one-size-fits-all withdrawal amount simply doesn't align with how the system actually works, but emotionally, a clear number makes the threat feel real. Another factor is how easily people mentally do the math. When you hear $1,200 a month, your brain immediately jumps to $14,400 a year, and that's when panic kicks in. You start thinking about missed holidays, delayed retirement, or having to work longer. That emotional reaction shuts down critical thinking. Scare stories rely on this exact response. Give people a number big enough to hurt, but simple enough to understand instantly, and the story spreads before anyone asks where that number actually came from. Finally, this figure likely comes from misinterpreted averages, not policy. Some super contributions, taxes, or projected retirement drawdowns can roughly land around similar monthly amounts for certain income levels. When those figures are taken out of context and presented as mandatory deductions, the story transforms into something it was never meant to be. This is how misinformation borrows the language of legitimacy. Once you recognize that the number itself has no legal foundation, the entire claim starts to unravel. Fear doesn't come from facts here, it comes from how convincingly the number is framed. If this part made you rethink that $1,200 figure, tell us in the comments what number shocked you most, and please subscribe. It's just one click, and it keeps these deep dive videos coming. Number 4. How superannuation fear spreads so fast. Unlike your bank account, superannuation is something most people don't check every day. It sits quietly in the background, growing slowly over decades, which makes it feel distant and abstract. That distance creates vulnerability. When a sudden headline claims your super is under threat, it feels like someone is touching something you can't easily see or control. That lack of visibility makes fears spread faster because people don't have immediate proof in front of them to confirm or deny what they've just heard. Social media plays a huge role in amplifying this fear. Platforms reward outrage, urgency, and shock, not accuracy. A calm explanation of policy changes doesn't travel far, but a dramatic claim about the government taking your money spreads instantly. Once a few influential accounts share it, others repeat it without checking sources. The repetition creates the illusion of truth. When you see the same claim everywhere, your brain assumes there must be something to it, even when no official confirmation exists. There's also a psychological layer at work. Superannuation represents security, independence, and dignity in old age. Threats to it feel personal, almost primal. That's why people share these stories with friends and family out of concern, not malice. Ironically, that desire to protect others is exactly what helps misinformation grow. Fear doesn't need facts to move fast, it only needs uncertainty. And when it comes to super, uncertainty is already built into the system. If you've ever shared a super story out of concern, comment "I get it" below. And don't forget to subscribe. One click helps us fight confusion with clarity. Number 5. Why silence from authorities feels suspicious. One major reason this claim keeps gaining traction is because official responses are often slow, technical, or quiet. Government departments usually don't rush to address every viral rumor, especially when it's based on a misunderstanding. But to everyday Australians, that silence can feel unsettling. When people don't hear an immediate, clear denial in plain language, they assume something must be happening behind the scenes. In the absence of reassurance, fear fills the gap. At the same time, official explanations tend to be buried in long documents filled with legal and financial terminology. Most people don't have the time or energy to dig through policy papers just to feel safe about their own money. So when a simple, dramatic explanation appears online, it feels more accessible, even if it's wrong. This creates an imbalance where misinformation is easy to understand, while the truth feels hidden behind complexity. That gap between everyday language and official communication is dangerous. It allows rumors to position themselves as what they're not telling you. Once a story frames itself as a secret being kept from the public, it becomes emotionally powerful. People start thinking, if no one's denying it clearly, maybe it's true. In reality, silence doesn't equal confirmation. It often just means the system isn't designed to react to viral panic. But by then, the damage is done. The story feels real, not because of evidence, but because clarity arrived too late. If you believe clear explanations matter, tell us in the comments what confused you most, and please subscribe. One click helps us turn silence into clarity. Number 6. The role of algorithms in clickbait. What most people don't realize is that stories like this aren't spreading by accident. They're being pushed by algorithms. Social media platforms are designed to promote content that triggers strong emotional reactions, especially fear and anger. When someone watches, comments on, or shares a dramatic claim about superannuation, the system interprets that as valuable content and shows it to even more people. Accuracy doesn't matter to the algorithm, engagement does. Creators who understand this know exactly how to frame their message. They use words like breaking, exposed, and without your permission because those phrases stop people from scrolling. Once the video or post starts gaining traction, others copy the format to ride the wave. Suddenly, the same claim appears everywhere, from short videos to headlines, giving the impression that multiple sources are confirming the same thing, when in reality, they're all repeating one unverified narrative. Over time, repetition rewires perception. When you see a claim often enough, your brain becomes familiar with it, and familiarity starts to feel like truth. That's how clickbait quietly turns into belief. The scariest part isn't that people are lying, it's that many genuinely think they're helping by warning others. But when algorithms reward fear over facts, even well-meaning people become part of the spread. Understanding this mechanism is crucial because once you see how the machine works, the panic loses its power. If this opened your eyes to how these stories spread, comment "algorithms" below, and please subscribe. One click helps us keep exposing what's really driving the fear. Number 7. Confusing taxes with taking your money. One of the biggest misunderstandings driving this claim is the confusion between taxation and withdrawals. Taxes feel like money being taken, but legally and practically, they are very different from the government dipping into your super account whenever it wants. Superannuation already operates under tax rules, on contributions, on earnings, and sometimes on withdrawals, and these rules have existed for decades. When people hear about potential tax changes, especially involving higher balances, it's easy to misinterpret that as the government taking money directly. Another layer of confusion comes from how tax discussions are reported. Headlines often simplify complex proposals into emotionally loaded language. A proposal to change how earnings are taxed can quickly turn into "your super will be reduced," even though no money is being removed from your account monthly. Taxes are calculated through systems and reporting, not by silently draining fixed amounts from individual accounts. But when that distinction isn't explained clearly, fear steps in to fill the knowledge gap. What makes this even more powerful is that most people don't see taxes as a gradual process. They feel immediate and personal. So when someone frames a tax-related discussion as a forced deduction, it feels like a direct attack on savings. In reality, no current or proposed policy allows the government to automatically withdraw a flat monthly amount from your super without consent.
Once you separate tax rules from withdrawal myths, the story loses its bite. Understanding this difference is key to staying calm and informed. If this cleared up the tax confusion for you, comment "tax does not equal taken" below, and don't forget to subscribe. One click helps us keep breaking down complex topics simply.
Number 8. Why older Australians feel this threat more deeply. For Australians closer to retirement, superannuation isn't an abstract future concept, it's almost within reach. Every dollar suddenly feels more important because there's less time to recover from losses. So when a claim suggests money could be taken automatically, it doesn't sound like a distant policy debate. It feels like an immediate threat to years of discipline and sacrifice. That emotional weight makes these stories hit harder and spread faster within older age groups. Another reason is lived experience. Many older Australians have already seen rule changes over the decades, shifting preservation ages, changing contribution caps, and new tax rules. Even when those changes were reasonable, they created a sense that the goalposts can move. So when a dramatic claim appears online, it fits an existing narrative. They've changed the rules before, so maybe they're doing it again. Context gets replaced by caution, and caution quickly turns into fear. Finally, trust plays a role. People nearing retirement are more likely to feel that decisions are being made without their direct involvement, especially in complex financial systems like superannuation. When communication isn't clear and timely, rumors feel like insider warnings rather than speculation. That's why these claims often spread through family chats and community groups, not because people want to scare others, but because they want to protect them. Unfortunately, that protective instinct can unintentionally pass along misinformation. If this resonated with you or someone you know, share your thoughts in the comments, and please subscribe. One click helps us protect facts from fear.
Number 9. How repetition turns rumors into reality. At first, a claim like this sounds outrageous, but after hearing it again and again, something strange happens. It starts to feel familiar, and familiarity feels safe. When the same message appears across videos, posts, comments, and group chats, your brain begins to treat it as established information rather than a rumor. This psychological effect is powerful, and it's one of the main reasons misinformation survives, even when evidence is missing. Different voices repeating the same idea create the illusion of independent confirmation. You might see a short clip saying one thing, a headline hinting at the same idea, and a comment from a friend reinforcing it. Even if they all trace back to the same original misunderstanding, your mind registers them as multiple sources. Over time, doubt fades and concern grows. That's how people move from "Is this true?" to "Why isn't anyone stopping this?" Once a rumor reaches that stage, correcting it becomes much harder. Facts feel dry compared to emotionally charged stories, and corrections don't spread as fast as fear. People may even resist new information because the rumor already feels embedded. This isn't about intelligence, it's about how human brains process repetition. The more often something is heard, the more real it feels. Recognizing this pattern is crucial because it allows you to pause, step back, and ask the most important question: where did this actually come from? If you've noticed how repetition changes belief, comment "Seen this everywhere" below. And please subscribe. One click helps us slow rumors down with real explanations. Number 10. What you should actually do right now. Instead of reacting to alarming headlines, the most powerful move you can make right now is to slow down and verify. When it comes to superannuation, real changes are always documented, debated, and communicated through official channels. They don't appear suddenly as fixed monthly withdrawals with no explanation. If a claim sounds extreme, that's usually a sign it needs extra scrutiny, not instant belief. Staying calm protects you from making rushed decisions based on fear. The next step is to focus on what you can control. Regularly check your super balance, understand where your contributions come from, and keep an eye on official updates rather than social media summaries. You don't need to become a financial expert, just being aware of the basics puts you ahead of most people. Knowledge doesn't remove all uncertainty, but it dramatically reduces anxiety. When you understand the system, sensational stories lose their grip. Finally, remember that misinformation only survives when it's passed along unchecked. Before sharing a claim with friends or family, ask whether it's supported by clear evidence or official confirmation. That small pause can stop a wave of unnecessary panic. Your superannuation represents years of work and planning, and it deserves decisions based on facts, not fear. Staying informed, not alarmed, is the real way to protect your future. If this series helped you think more clearly, comment what part changed your perspective, and please subscribe. It's one click, and it helps us keep turning confusion into clarity.
By now, one thing should be very clear. The claim that the Australian government will automatically take $1,200 per month from your superannuation without permission is built on fear, confusion, and misinterpretation, not on actual policy. Real reforms do exist, but they are being distorted into something far more alarming than reality. When complex systems like superannuation meet social media, clarity is often the first thing to disappear. This is exactly why stories like this spread so quickly. Superannuation sits at the intersection of money, trust, and the future, three things people are deeply emotional about. Add vague wording, dramatic numbers, and silence from official sources, and suddenly a rumor feels like a warning. But as you've seen throughout this video, when you slow down and separate facts from framing, the narrative falls apart. No law, no confirmed policy, and no official announcement supports the idea of forced monthly withdrawals from individual super accounts. What truly matters is how you respond to claims like these going forward. Panic leads to bad decisions. Understanding leads to confidence. You don't need to follow every policy update or read legal documents. You just need to recognize when something sounds designed to scare rather than inform. The moment you ask, where is the actual source, you take your power back. Superannuation is meant to provide security, not constant anxiety. Protecting it doesn't start with fear, it starts with awareness. The more clearly you understand how misinformation works, the harder it becomes for it to control your emotions or your decisions. And that's the real takeaway here. Not just what this claim got wrong, but how easily fear can spread when facts are ignored. If this video helped you see things differently, tell us in the comments what parts stood out most, and make sure to watch our previous video for more clarity on important topics like this. Please support the channel by subscribing. It's just one click, and it helps us keep putting in the time and effort to bring you honest, well-researched content.